So welcome everyone to this session that is around what digital solutions in healthcare can actually do for patients. And when I say healthcare, it's not just healthcare as we see it in the clinic of the doctor. It is also close to the patients and what effects digital healthcare solutions actually could have for patients. So we actually took up the challenge and said, okay, why don't we try to invite patients in that actually has a disease and actually will be able to share their story for what actually digital solutions could actually do for them as a person. So what we'll do today is actually go through these 4 tracks. First, we will hear about precision solutions and what that actually can impact a patient. So we're not talking about precision medicine, we talk about precision solutions. So this is what we also refer to as part of the Healthcare 2.0. Then we'll go into how digital tools actually can support a patient in understanding the disease. Secondly, we will move into an interesting talk about how digital tools actually impacted a patient being able to diagnose himself early on to actually detect skin cancer and actually maybe, if not that had happened, prevent this person from actually developing a serious case of skin cancer. Finally, we'll go into a panel debate where we have 2 very important people being here. We have Lars Werner from the Psoriasis Association here in Denmark. Thank you so much for being here. And we also have Camilla from Younger Doctors in Denmark, Yngre Læger, that also will be here and actually be able to challenge the 3 solutions. And of course also if the patients would like to be asked about some questions from the panel as well. So this is what we'll deal with for the next time. So first of all, I just want to highlight some small issues that we see in the current patient journey. This is how medicine is being practiced today, and we definitely do see a lot of issues. So all the dark blue boxes represent that something is actually wrong in the way that we look for information with respect to our diseases. First of all, if we search the internet, if you type in your skin symptoms, you may write in scaliness, redness. What will Dr. Google come up with? Skin cancer. But actually this was not skin cancer. This was just a contact eczema episode. So you actually been in contact with poisonous evi and then you got this reaction. Interesting. So if we look at what Google actually are capable of doing, for instance, with the sites that they refer to, so this is the Dr. Google concept, 34% of the sites that they refer to actually give the patient some kind of idea of the diagnosis. Then if the patient wants to move further on in the chain, they would ask friends, family. In some countries where pharmacists play a very crucial role, they will go to the pharmacist and ask, have you seen this on my skin? What can I do about it? We know that the quality and the feedback that patients get are very, with a very high variation of quality. So the answer is definitely not to be found at this point of time. Then they decide to go to a healthcare practitioner, often a general practitioner, family doctor, and the waiting time can be in Denmark, if you go to Jutland, Western Jutland, it can be even longer than was written up here, but 2 to 8 weeks is just on average what we see in the Western world. We did a study in Germany that where we asked doctors to actually use a digital tool or to do practice as they normally did. And then we showcased them 19 different patients with different skin symptoms, ranging from very common diseases like eczema, where 20% of all kids, they have this disease. In the adult population, it's around 3%, to more rare diseases where we only see 2 cases out of 10,000 patients that come into the clinic. And the overall accuracy of the family practitioner was 45%. Sorry for this. What we then saw was also that the treatments that they were prescribed was also ranging a lot, from things that could work to things that didn't actually work at all for this patient. So there's room for improvement, that is just what I'm saying here, and digital could be a solution. When they go to a dermatologist, we know that the waiting time here is very long. I spoke with a patient in UK last week when I was in Oxford. He told me that the waiting time for his kid that had contact dermatitis, he didn't know that, so eczema on the hands, and the kid had had it for 3 years. the waiting time was 1.5 years. Can you imagine that as a parent? To say, I can't get an answer before 1.5 years out? Don't you think that digital could do something in this? I strongly believe so. And then when you then get the right treatment, you have been through all this, all these information keys, and the question is, how do you really trust, the doctor, the advice from the doctor, and that leads to what we call adherence, poor adherence, I would rather say. And that's, of course, a huge issue. We believe that this is not just the overall pains. There's much more into it. One of the things that is definitely evident from the WHO, and that is that they have stated that in 2035, on a global level, we will have a shortfall of healthcare providers of almost 13 million. Okay? So the system that we know today will be even worse in the future. We also know that there's a growing world population. We also know that there's a growing aging population. And we also know that diseases like psoriasis that are more or less, diabetes, that are more or less preventative. When we talk about type 2 diabetes, you can change your lifestyle and definitely do something about it. Suddenly become epidemic, and I would rather say pandemic. It's a thing that we see all over the world. Maybe digital can actually change this as well. What patients they want is a lot of stuff. They want care. They want people to understand them. They want their healthcare practitioner to know them. But can they do that when we see that there's this huge shortfall in the future? Maybe digital can do something about it. We believe that this is the future path for patients. We believe that 60% of patients will find correct answers in the short future on the internet. We also believe that telemedicine will play a crucial role. In Denmark, the government is saying we need more GPs in the western part of Jutland. Why is that? Why don't we need telemedicine tomorrow for those people that cannot access a family practitioner tomorrow? We believe that that will happen in the future, and we estimate here that 90% of all patients will be or could be managed by digital. We've been visiting China, and China is actually ahead of us, believe it or not. In China, we see that patients that go online for online consulting, we see that 95% of them are being dealt with by online consulting, and only 5% is moving on to what they define as offline treatments. Interesting. Patients want to know about themselves. There's a lot of stuff that can lead to this, and the first story we will hear about is about precision solutions. We will have a patient talking about how these new tools within DNA and discoveries of what DNA signatures can actually do for them as a person, what that will support them with, and finally we'll have a tech talk about the information you can find in your genes and what that can actually resolve for patients moving forward. So with that, please, if you can introduce a little bit yourself, and thank you so much for coming here today.
Thank you.
Stine.